Hey guys, sorry about the technical difficulties. Apparently, we had a little bit of an issue in Zoom where the internet froze, and so we kind of had to have a little brief intermission while we got back on. I was just in the middle of having a conversation with Chris Allen over here, and we were just discussing, I believe, a little bit about where were we? Oh, we were talking about criticism and how it's okay to take it, and you shouldn't take it personally, and that certain people, when they do take criticism, they take it to heart and they get all defensive, and I believe that taking criticism is so important because it's how you learn. So, Christopher, I apologize, it froze. So, I guess we can continue on. So, tell me a little bit about what you think about this whole situation on criticism. What do you think?
I agree with you completely. You can't take every bit of criticism in a personal way. I mean, half the time people really just genuinely want to help you. It, and I think that so often we let our egos get in the way and not let us listen to stuff. Like a lot of people, you could say something to them and they won't listen because of whatever your relationship is. The parents are a really good example of this. Like you won't listen to something your mom said, but if your friend over here says the exact same thing, you listen to them. That's our ego getting in the way, just not letting us accept criticism because of whatever reason. And it's when you can get past that, it makes things a lot easier when you can actually listen to the people around you.
Yeah, listen, it's like me with my students. Like my students can sometimes be really hard-headed and not want to listen, and sometimes I tell them, you may not listen now, but give it a few years down the road, and you're gonna be thinking, "Hey, I should have listened to that teacher. That teacher was right." And I've had situations like that where I've had students that have gone to high school, and then they see me again, and they're like Mr. Figueroa, I appreciate you for giving me that tough love because without it, I don't think I would have turned around. And that's the best feeling in the world, hearing that from former students is just, being told that, you're the main reason why they turn their life around. And it's the
Oh
same
yeah.
thing with criticism.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. That's what it is. Most of the time, even if people don't like criticism right away, later on, when they're not so emotional in the moment, it tends to make more sense.
Yeah, exactly. And and eventually they find an ally in that person. They find positivity and comfort in that person. And that's what the best part of it is. They may not have the best home life at home, but when it comes to school and teachers and coaches that mentor them, that's where they really turn and flourish the most.
Yep, I agree, 100%.
So kind of getting into the next topic. Your I don't know if you're comfortable talking about this, but your accident. How did it happen? How did it change your mindset and your outcome? And how
Oh
did you
yeah,
find positivity, or how did you overcome the negative side of the accident and turn it into positivity to move you forward?
well, it's the injury is a little bit of a weird story. It was kind of a combination of some smaller injuries over a long period of time with one big specific injury that made it really bad. The big injury was actually the kung fu place that I was working at as an assistant instructor and learning there. The instructor, not my favorite person because because of reasons. But what he did was we were doing some jujitsu, got me in a neck crank, and wrenched on my neck so hard that it just messed everything up there. He wasn't stopping when I was trying to tap out, so it
Wow.
was it was actually somebody I trusted that
That's even worse.
really hurt. Yeah, and didn't really realize what the problem was until years later, and then last June, I ended up, I've been trying to find out what to do with it for the longest time, and eventually, long story short, ended up getting a uh, level 2 cervical spinal fusion. So
Wow.
two, so three of my vertebrae are fused together, and there's some help. They were held together by plates, and there are some screws in there, and all that. Um, but thankfully, I know a little bit about fitness. It's what I had studied, and if it wasn't for that, I would probably be in a lot worse shape than I am right now because it's been about 7 months now, about 7, 8 months now. I think I can't count on the calendar. My math is bad, but uh, now I'm lifting more weight than I've ever lifted before because after I came out of that, I was like, you know what, this is a pretty cool story, and I'm going to be in less pain. So even though I had to go through all that, I I'm glad I did because now I have a unique perspective, especially for people that use those excuses like, "Oh, I've had this injury or I've had this happen." Like, well, there's always some way you can do something. You don't have to quit life just because something bad happened to you. You can take care of the problem as best you can and go from there. You may have to change things a little bit. Like, for example, in my case, I've been kind of avoiding jujitsu since the surgery, not because of anybody who's going to try to hurt me or anything, but just because it, it's I got to be careful. I don't want some accident to happen, and it's a little painful still. So that fear of getting injured is still there, but
Yeah,
I'm
it's
poking at it to
it's
get
all
back
about
to it.
it's all about psychology and mentality, and sometimes you have to take your time slowly getting back into it. That's where you take it slowly day by day and kind of, work your way back up to normalcy.
Yep, and that's exactly how I was able to recover from the surgery and get to the point I'm at as far as strength and everything. Is that when is the minute I was cleared to do any kind of exercise and lifting, got the neck brace off, I was back there and I wasn't lifting anything heavy, but I was still doing it consistently. I've been lifting weights and doing martial arts in combination, mostly weights, some martial arts, for months now, at least 5 to 7 days a week, just because I can't wait to do it, and I feel better than I ever have. Even my neck doesn't hurt nearly as bad as it used to. Thank goodness the surgery worked.
Right? It's the power of the surgery, and then your dedication to really take care of yourself, to to bring yourself back to health and to have that positivity around you. It's what
Yeah,
gets
and
you
I do
back up
want to
and
say,
running.
oh, sorry, and I do want to say to anybody out there who has some kind of surgery or injury that have not even half, probably 80% of the battle. It's not the surgery and healing the surgery itself. It's how you recover. So don't neglect taking care of yourself after the surgery. If you just get a surgery and then you lay down and hope to feel better, it's not going to work. You have to actively take care of yourself. So do your homework and find out what exactly it is you need to do, and then do that to give yourself the best healing you can get and live the highest quality life that you can.
Speaking about
Sorry, but that's
speaking about sports injuries, I had one myself 13 years ago actually. I was training, getting into shape for my final year as a football player. And I guess one day in the middle of lifting, I suffered a hernia and I lifted the wrong way. And the hernia was in the worst place possible. I had ended up being diagnosed with a testicular torsion. And let me tell you,
oh no,
that was the worst pain of my life ever.
no.
I could barely when I went to to the hospital, they're like, "Are you in pain?" And I'm like, "No, I don't feel it." And they're like, "How are you not in pain? This is like, that felt like a bunch of needles, just like it hits you so hard." And I had the surgery. They're like, "You came close to losing your fellas. You came close to losing your kids. Thankfully, you came in on time, and we did the surgery." And so I was fortunate enough to, but after that, unfortunately, I decided to be like, "Hey, I'm not gonna continue with football anymore. But I'll still continue lifting and still be in shape and just take care of myself." And that's when I realized my sports career it's kind of over, but in the back of my mind, like right now, I still have that itch. That itch of I want to get back into it one more time, one more year, see how my body, gets through it. And that's kind of the reason why I'm eating so healthy and why I'm training is because I feel like I could do it one more time, you know? But
How
we'll
was the
see.
recovery
We'll
from
see.
that surgery? And that was it a long process?
I was about 2 months in the shelf.
Mm, man, couldn't imagine that. I'm glad you're feeling better. How do you feel now as far as your ability? Do you feel like you're like ready to get back to football and do that for one more year?
Yeah, I mean, it could be football, it could be cycling. Who knows? I'm always full of surprises, you know, and
Oh, okay.
and I have, when it comes to sports, I have two different personalities. My personality now, which I'm like really, really, friendly, mellow, and just, cool with people. But when I'm on the field, you won't be able to recognize me because I'll get in your face and I'll be like, I'm out to take you out. I'm not out to make friends.
Oh, you're a smack talker. Okay.
Yeah, I smack talk, but I back it up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
I mean, you have to.
yeah, and I'm also a motivator. I like to motivate my team and be like, hey, we can do this. Just do our best and get out there and play our hearts out.
Yep. I can definitely tell that you would bring that kind of energy to a team. Absolutely.
And I guess ever since the surgery, you've been pretty much been able to fully get back into it, right?
As far as lifting goes, yeah, better than I was ever was before. Martial arts, I'm kind of getting back into it slowly, especially since I'm doing so much lifting right now. It's kind of hard to work out that much. It's hard, but I'm going to do it. But I'm getting slowly back into the martial arts. I've been doing more kickboxing than grappling, for obvious reasons. Uh, but it's a process. I'm going to be stepping that up a little bit here in the next couple weeks and going from there. As far as competition goes, I don't know if I'm ever going to do it again. Maybe I would really like to because I only really competed in jiu-jitsu once, just as a beginner, and it was fun. I won, so if I don't ever compete again, I will retire undefeated. So there's that.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Just don't let like an
yeah.
Anderson Silva or like Jacare Souza go and kick your ass. Trying to do jujitsu. Even
Oh,
Lyoto Machida.
it was it was a tournament over in Maryland, and sanctioned, all that kind of stuff. Safe as far as safe as that kind of thing can be. So stuff can happen. You can get injured. So it's something I really have to be careful when I consider doing it again. But I really want to because I watch all my teammates at the place. They're going out there as a team and winning and having a great time, and I'm just sitting here like, man, I want to get back and do that. I miss it, even though I only did it once, really. But I miss training with all them people as much as I used to. So yeah,
I bet, man.
most likely.
There's something that never leaves you, and that's the spirit of competition. And once you go through it, it's hard for you to let it go. You know.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing quite like that rush. I mean, whether you're winning or losing, it's getting out there even before you actually start. You get those butterflies, you get a little nervous, the adrenaline starts going, and there's really no feeling like it.
Yeah, back when I played football and I did cycling and baseball, I was given the nickname Iron Man. You know why? Because every time I'd get, either I used to play baseball as a catcher, and I used to catch, I used to be on the receiving end of like, you know, of balls and baseball bats and helmets, and I'd end up getting, hit a couple times here or there, a couple of nicks here or there, but I'd never let it like I just shake it off and just keep going and being a catcher in the back behind the plate, I'd get people out, but I wouldn't just get them out. I'd do like a somersault and hit the plate and sacrifice my body all the time, and that's kind of why the main reason is why my body was so beat up towards the end of my football career is because I used to sacrifice it so much. I went through a lot of injuries, but I won a state championship with a sprained knee. They advised me not to compete, but I still did it. I wasn't gonna let my team down. I wasn't gonna let you know, my county down because I was representing my county where I'm from. So I had to do something.
Yeah,
So
that's a great story. I mean, the I think that a lot of people, especially younger people, younger athletes, are way too willing to sacrifice their body and way too easily neglect taking care of themselves. And they should do those things more. But that being said, sometimes there are stakes involved. Like if you've ever read a book, and if you haven't read this book, I definitely recommend it. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Have you heard of that one?
never heard of it before.
Okay, we'll talk about that one. It's a wonderful book, and uh, like you did, finishing the game and winning with the sprained knee. You said,
Yeah, I won the cycling state championship with a sprained knee.
yeah, his shins were broken. He's a Navy SEAL. Went through Hell Week 3 times in a year because he had medical issues or injuries. Kept going back, and during his last run, his shins were so messed. His shins and his feet were so messed
Man.
up, broken bones, just all kinds of bad stuff. He would go in early. This is Navy SEAL training. He would duct tape his shins and his feet and his
Jesus.
shoes. He ran on literally broken legs
Oh my
for
God.
6 months as a Navy SEAL. And I tell you that story and relate it to yours because had he not done that, injury or not, he wouldn't have had another chance. It was do or die no matter what. So sometimes the stakes are such where it's like, I have to do this, I have this, but I have to finish. So there are a few times in life where those kinds of stakes can happen, like your situation, like his thing with the Navy SEALs. And if people are already way beat up before that, they're not going to be ready to make a sacrifice when it's truly time and when it'll actually mean something. So I think
Exactly.
sacrifice is, but stupid sacrifice is not.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I believe in today's society forget about the value of sacrificing and hard work. They want everything to be just given to them, and that's not the case. If you want to be successful, you have to put in the work. You have to grind. And it might take
Yep.
you a month, it might take you a year, but you're going to get to your goal.
And honestly, this right here is one of the biggest problems I have with the fitness industry and the weight loss industry as a whole, where they will promise the quick solutions that just hand it to you, lose 30 pounds in a month, and even if it does happen and they can lose weight all that fast, the habits aren't going to be there. They're going to gain it right back, and it's going to be a never-ending cycle, and they're going to have to keep starting over. And like I've been saying, this has been a topic of a lot of conversations lately. But starting over, you can't do that forever. Eventually, you have to perform and be consistent. And the fitness industry and the weight loss industry absolutely do not promote that message. They want you to keep running that hamster wheel and never getting anywhere all your life because it makes them money. So it's a conundrum. You have to be part of the industry to help people, but you have to not be part of the industry to help people.
Yeah, exactly. It's a dog eat dog world out there too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you always have to remember those who got you there, you know? Because most people forget who they really are once they hit the big time, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hitting any big time, so I haven't forgotten anybody yet. and hopefully, if I ever do, it won't change me like that. But like I was saying earlier, I could not be where I am at all right now. I couldn't have even gotten out of the whole drug addiction thing without help. It's Allen Fitness wouldn't be here with just me. I wouldn't be here with just me. It's Yeah, you got to remember the people who have been there for you and who have helped you for sure. Because without them, you wouldn't have gotten anywhere.
Exactly. It's just always remember the people that got you there, and appreciate them the most because they're the ones that are going to lead you to new heights and to success. So
Yes, sir.
that's one thing that I want to let you know my viewers know is just that just don't give up on your dreams, but at the same time, don't let the people that have been by your side since day one go.
Exactly. Very, very well said.
So, I wanted to kind of shift things and go into kind of disability, and I wanted to know a little bit about have you, I guess, trained anybody with a physical disability or any kind of impairment before?
I actually have not. I don't have any experience training anybody with disabilities yet. I'm, my little brother, Nicholas, there's no way he would cooperate with me enough to actually get any training in, so I don't know what to do there. He might listen to somebody else. He really loves pretty girls, so if a pretty girl trainer was
Hey,
training
can't
him,
go
he
wrong with
might.
that.
Yeah, but no, I don't have any training or anything. I've had some people ask about training for people with disabilities, and I do know some people. So if you know if I run across somebody with a disability who needs training, I will definitely refer them to somebody who knows a little bit more about that than I did.
Awesome, awesome. And then how would you I guess define disability in your own words? What do you think it means to you?
Mm, honestly, I think it's not. I don't really think of it as a word as it being any more than an identifier of a condition somebody might have to deal with. Because let's take cerebral palsy for example. There are all different kinds. My little brother, he wouldn't be able to function on his own in most circumstances. He can't really speak. He can kind of make his own food, but he could never cook or operate dangerous machinery or anything like that. But there are people with cerebral palsy who like yourself who start businesses, coach people. The martial arts teacher who hurt my neck actually also has cerebral palsy, and he's got a really good story, and it would be great if he was a little bit nicer of a person. Anyway, uh, but what does disability mean to me? It's honestly, it doesn't really mean much. It's just an identifier to say somebody has this condition, and it doesn't really define a person as who they are because, like I said, there are good people, there are bad people, there are
Exactly.
disabilities, there are bad people with disabilities. It's just
Hmm.
all about the person and what they do with their story.
Yeah, it's like I always tell people like I always tell individuals at the end of my public speaking engagements is disability is just a label that society gives you. It's just something to for them to be like, oh look, we gotta feel pity for him. We gotta feel sorry for him. And I was raised as somebody as a child. I had my stepmom in my life, and she would always tell me, hey, my pity box is broken. I know you're better than that. I know you can do more than that. So I've always believed that I don't have a disability. I'm a normal human being. It's all about the actions that I do with the
Mm-hmm.
disability that defines me, and that should define any individual that has one.
Yeah, I agree completely. And just like the difference between any one person and any other person is one the way just for fitness in the example of fitness, one person the way they work out may be this way, and this other person they may work out a different way and get better results or be able to do something a little easier. Disability or not, different people people are different from each other. No one is the same. So it, that's all it is.
So what I'm gonna do now is I've never done this before, but I'm gonna shift the show over to you so you can ask me questions about because I know you wanted to know a little bit more about me, so I'm gonna allow you to do that. So
Okay, great.
I'm gonna give you the floor, and if you want to ask me any questions, you're more than welcome to. I welcome it, so feel free to go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah, I would actually like to know a little bit more about how you had to adapt, because I know you're educated in fitness, and I'd kind of like to know how you've used that knowledge to be able to train in an effective way, in a way that works for you with cerebral palsy.
Well, for me at first, to go way back, I started when I was 13, 14. At the time, I was facing a crossroads in life because I was a child that didn't wasn't really active, played video games all day, didn't really move, and I went to the doctor one day, and the doctor told me, if you keep up the sedentary lifestyle, you're gonna end up back in the wheelchair for the rest of your life. Because at the very beginning of my life, till I was 8 years old, I was confined to a wheelchair. And if you go further than that, I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't do any basic functions that a human being could do. And my doctors told my parents, your child's not gonna achieve. He's not gonna be, successful. You're gonna have to take care of him for the rest of your life. He's gonna be a vegetable. He's gonna be this. He's gonna be that. And it was just heartbreaking. And at the time, I lived between my my uh, my my stepmom, my dad, and my mom. So you know, well, the main reason that I kind of got into fitness was, fast forward back to the chair, is that just the fact that the doctor told me, hey, you're gonna end up back in the chair. So I thought to myself, I need to change. So I started with just basic equipment, and I started on my parents' porch because at the time, I was still a kid. Um, I started weight training. I had difficulty kind of grasping it at first, just struggling with getting used to working out, getting used to liking it, and eventually I started seeing results, and I'm like, huh, I kind of like this, and eventually started seeing my body just take form and take shape. And one day I took a picture and I noticed, I had all these muscles. I was like ripped I was shredded when I was younger, I was really shredded, like, because, before you started eating crap and stuff, and because once you turn 21, you feel like, oh look, there's alcohol and you can drink a little bit, and and that messes up with your body, as we know, it can slow you down and get you, make you gain weight, your metabolism goes slower. um yeah, and I learned to love fitness, and I really got into it. And I've had friends tell me over the years, they're like, you should be a personal trainer, you should train people. Why not start something like that? And I never thought of it until just recently, till 2017. And that's when it really
Okay.
kind of started to pick up.
Okay. Cool. So now, I'm glad you brought that up. Your fitness and your personal training. Do you strictly train? Are you still doing personal training in person? Do you do it virtually?
I
And
do I do it virtually, like once a while, not like often, because it's hard to find people to kind of dedicate the time. I was, in fact, training my best friend before COVID hit, and he lost 10 pounds. And there were times where he'd fall off the wagon, and he'd make excuses. I'm like, you need to learn how to be accountable for yourself. Take responsibility for making that mistake and own it. You know, own your mistakes. That's the number one thing that people should know, is own your mistakes. Be honest to yourself. Did you
yes.
mess up? Yes. Can you bounce back? Definitely. What do you have to do? You have to be strong and take yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the first thing you got to do for that is admit your mistakes. Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
uh, as far as your personal training, do you train other people with disabilities, for lack of a better word? And do you have any special education for training other people
I
with conditions like yours?
I have been approached actually to train people with disabilities, and what I usually do is I come up with a plan for them to train specifically tailored to their disability. So in my situation, I try not to lift too heavy because it impacts, the spasticity and you can get injured easily. So I'm very lightweight. So when it comes to somebody with the same disability as I am, I try to kind of tailor it to how not so much how I work out, but to the best of their ability, what they can do. Because somebody with a wheelchair um, can't do exercises standing up. You have to tailor it to them to how they are ability wise. So that's what I kind of take into consideration is how they are, physically and mobility wise, and turn that limitation into something they can benefit from. You know.
Yeah, and that's great because you have a little bit of an advantage there because you've experienced what it's like to be, where maybe where they are just starting out and getting to a better place, being able to lift, being able to play sports and all that kind of stuff. So you definitely have more insight into how it can be done and how it can be accomplished than maybe a typical person who just strictly has a little bit of an education. So having that firsthand experience is definitely helpful. Like with my neck, I, I've had a lot of people say, "Well, I've had this neck surgery, or I've had this neck injury or back injury," and I say, "Okay, I understand. Here's some things that might help you." And I think having that experience is far more valuable than anything I could have ever learned in a book.
Exactly. It's all about getting out there and learning about yourself. Learning your strengths and your weaknesses, and
Mm-hmm.
just capitalizing on them. Like I couldn't walk till I was 8 years old, and they never thought I'd be able to walk. Be able to be physically active, and so I have broken that barrier that a lot of people uh, in my situation dream of. And I'm definitely proud of it, but I didn't do it alone. I did it because of my family, my friends. They pushed me into it, and that's I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you have any like fitness influences? Any idols like I have with Bruce Lee, or anybody you look up to specifically that's kind of inspired you through your fitness journey?
Well, I don't know if you've heard of Gregory Iron. He's a professional wrestler with CP,
Okay.
and he's been in the profession for, oh man, for like 15 years or so. And he when he first got into wrestling, people would drag him down because, oh, you have this disability. And when he first started training, I don't know if you've heard of Johnny Gargano. He was skeptical on training him because he was afraid that he could hurt him. And they tried to take it easy on him, but he absolutely refused. He's like, I want to be a professional wrestler, and I want to go through the same intensity and the same rigidity and all the same training that everybody else is doing and the pain that they're going through. I want to go through it too. And he went through it and he made it. And unfortunately, he's never been able to compete in the highest level of the profession, like WWE or like AEW. Even though I'm like, they should give this guy a chance. He's good, but because of the disability, they just won't do it because of liability issues. Like Zach Gowen, he was a state champion wrestler with one leg. He ended up making it to WWE. I don't know if you heard about him.
I think I have heard about him. See, maybe seen some of his old wrestling videos before it was professional, like the amateur stuff. I think the college stuff. I think I've seen some of those.
Yeah, and he made it. But in his situation, he ended up going through some personal demons, but he bounced back, and he's a motivational speaker now, and he influences people. And he tag team with Gregory Iron, and he as the handicap heroes is what their tag team was, and the people just went nuts, and they loved it. And Gregory Iron is pretty much the main reason why I kind of want to persevere and move forward with my fitness and just get better in general.
That is awesome. And I got to admit the motivational speaker thing. I've gotten a lot of influence from people like Tony Robbins and that kind of people. But you specifically, because I've been watching your stuff for a little while on Facebook. We've been friends there for a while, and like this guy's a motivational speaker. That's I want to be a motivational speaker. So folks who do the kinds of things that you do, and he did, it's really inspiring to me. It really is.
And I appreciate that. Like I said, I appreciate everyone's support, comments, whether positive or negative. It's about just embracing it. Like I was told when I was younger, when it came to my disability, especially when I graduated from the University of Central Florida back in 2016, I was told, you know, I was gonna take a picture without my cane, and my stepmom went and said, "Take it with the cane." And at first I wanted to refuse because I don't want people to be like, "Hey, look, it's this guy with this cane who just graduated," and just like label me. But she's like, the cane and the disability will always be a part of you, and if people don't like that, then that's on them. You don't need to listen to them. You need to believe in yourself, and you did this all because you wanted this, and you didn't let your disability stop you. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning every single day to get to UCF at 7:30 to my first class of the day. Didn't end until 8 o'clock at night, and I sacrificed so many hours, and I had a lot of pressure on my shoulders. I thought about my family, my friends, and I'm like, this is it. This is either I make it or everything I've done doesn't matter. And I put that in the back of my shoulders, and I worked so hard and I made it.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And can I just say also there is the fact that everybody looks cooler with a cane. I'm just saying.
Exactly.
It looks cool. You're savvy, you're swaggering. That's just my opinion. I think canes are cool, and they make good weapons if you
Yeah.
really want to
Yeah,
mess with them.
exactly. Especially when I used to play sports with my buddies, or once in a while like rec sports, we'd play basketball or football, and I go like and smack them lightly across the leg. They'll be like, "You just hit me," and they're like, "Yeah, you want to go?" Just having some fun.
Yeah, that's great.
So any other questions?
What do you have planned for 2021? What are some of the big things you've got on deck? I know that you're stepping up your motivational speaking. You're getting back into teaching a little bit more now that maybe COVID's starting to die down a little bit. What's on the horizon this year?
Well, right now, I'm actually in the process of hopefully within the next month or so doing a little soft launch of merchandise. So I'm actually
Okay.
coming up with the bracelets, like the ones that you see with like sayings on them, and
Uh-huh.
I'm actually putting my quote in that bracelet, which is, "If I can do it, so can you." And to kind of go into that, the reason I came up with that was because over the years, you hear people complaining about doing certain things, or just like just being real negative, and then they see me do it, not complaining, but just do what I need to do, and then a switch hits, and they're like, "If I can do it, so can you." So I remember hearing that, and I'm like, that is the perfect quote, to use. Because if I can do what they claim they can't do, then you can do it too.
I love that. That is cool. When you have those out and they're ready to go, let me know, and I'll put some links on my page because I think a lot of people need that mindset in their lives for sure.
Definitely, I'm excited, and I've been in this game, this podcasting game, for the last 3 years, and I've been training. I've been getting into shape and training for the last. I'm going into 15 years now. I'm turning 30 in May, so I've been at it since I was 14, 15 years old, and it's been an incredible journey. Something that I would never thought it would happen, and it's incredible the amount of praise I get when people see me. They're like, you're really like in shape for a guy who's has a disability. I'm like, I don't just have a disability, but I'm just a no, normal human being. And as much as I like to be compared to somebody with a disability, I prefer to leave the disability out of the equation. I prefer to be addressed as somebody, you know, as a regular human being. Like, hey, it's David, the guy who's in shape. Not the guy that has, a disability. I know I have a disability. It's right here physically. I can see it. But don't address me because it's obvious. It's the obvious.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get uncomfortable around people with disabilities for sure. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm sure you've experienced that where people either avoid eye contact with you, avoid looking at you,
Yeah,
will up just so that they feel better about breaking the ice with the topic. Like, just talk to somebody like they're a normal person. It's fine. You don't have to dwell on something that you think is strange to you because it's just a normal person you're talking to. That's all it is. You wouldn't talk any differently to a person who had a cold
yeah,
or had a broken toe or something. It's just a person. So just talk to them as a person.
exactly. I mean, it's all about the one thing that I kind of emphasize is being somebody, of course, with CP. One of the things that I've always done is just education. Now, there's differences in the way I educate people. With kids, it's more like showing them and kind of being friendly about it and just explaining to them. Now with adults, it's a completely different story because some of the stuff they say, it comes off really condescending. Not you, of course. You've been wonderful, but I'm saying some people in general. They say like these really off color comments, like, you know, um, what is wrong with him? Like, is he broken? Does he have like mental issues? All these like off off color comments. That's like, like that's really offensive, and you try to like
Or speaking to
struggle.
you as if you're a child.
Yeah, exactly. Or they try to give you stuff like I kid you not, a couple weeks ago, I was, doing my run around my neighborhood, and this guy, he was a construction worker, and he comes up to me and he offers to give me money because he felt sorry for me. And I'm like, no, I don't need the money. He could take it back, and he took it back. But I was like taken aback by it. I'm like, why are people giving me stuff? You don't need to give me stuff. I can afford my own things, and I have a job, and I'm just a normal human being. I don't need to be pitied. You know, I'm not a pity
I mean,
party.
that is kind of strange to me that somebody would just offer money like that. Like, does he look homeless? That's weird because you see people will do kind of strange things like that just to make themselves feel better or something, and it just kind of always confused me. Never really made any sense to me. But I've been living around somebody with cerebral palsy my entire life, so of course it's not strange to me. So I guess I kind of get the way some people might be a little uncomfortable, but you know that's something you got to tell people sometimes. Sometimes people just may not know better.
Exactly.
But
You know.
I wish it could be a little bit easier to do like to deal with people who are talking to people with disabilities. My brother, for example, he can't really speak and communicate as well as a lot of people, and he uses a little sign language. I understand it because I've been around him my whole life. But the thing that gets me is that he, we know that he understands what's going on around him. You can tell him things, and he will understand, even if he can't let you know that he understands. So when my family, like some other members of my extended family, will talk to him like he's a little kid, or treat him as if he doesn't or talk about him as if he doesn't understand what they're saying. It's like you guys know that he knows what you're saying. He can hear you, and he speaks English.
Yeah.
You guys know this, right? And so I try to talk to him as my buddy. He's my little brother, so he's always gonna be my little buddy. But Nicholas, you want some coffee? Okay, cool. Grab the creamer out of the fridge.
Yeah.
Cool. He needs help, so I mean, there's definitely concession that I can't ignore. His disability, because that would be impractical and stupid. But still treat him like a normal person. You don't have to treat somebody like a child or speak loudly to a blind person because they can hear you. It's crazy the way people will react sometimes when they're not used to the things.
It really is. But when I'd seen I came across a video of I think that was your little brother opening Christmas presents. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like his reaction.
Yeah, yep. His favorite things are lions, pretty much any lion. Most the Lion King, but also Narnia, and basically anything lion related. Beauty and the Beast, and for some reason lately he's been watching Blue Bloods, that cop show. He's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of random. He thinks he's really consistent with Beauty and the Beast. I swear I have seen that movie thousands of times because he's been watching it nonstop since it was released in theaters back in the early '90s. So he's got his things, but it's cool because he has fun. Super Mario Brothers, loves Super Mario Brothers. He's been playing Super Nintendo version for years, and he's probably better at it than anybody I've ever seen. He's gone through the entire game. He's found like all the secrets, everything, and he taught himself all how to do it. He never Googled anything. He found all that shit by himself,
That
and
is
he's
awesome.
better at it now. I originally taught him to play, and now he's better at it than I am.
Hey, it's always the their brother that teaches the other one how to do stuff.
And then the one who got taught gets better at everything. So that's cool.
Exactly. So to kind of I guess do you have anything else you wanted to ask, or um, we can kind of shift it over to, I guess, advice you'd like to give anybody out there struggling with either addiction, getting in shape, uh, anybody looking to start their own journey. Uh, what are some things you would say?
Oh, there's a lot, but a couple things. Let's say, for one, you got to get to know yourself. A lot of people will try and start a journey or change who they are overnight, radically change all their habits and do it all at once, and it almost always ends up in failure. So I like to tell people, figure out where you are first. Really identify with yourself, with your habits, with the level of your fitness. I mean, if you've never worked out before, please don't go try and deadlift 250 pounds your first time out. And it's crazy how many people will make that kind of mistake. So
Yep.
get to know yourself, learn the mind body connection. For people like me who've had an injury, or someone like you who has to really learn how to do stuff in a different way, the mind body connection is extremely important. And most people really take for granted that they need to understand it. I can't tell you how many older guys in their 50s, 60s, and 70s will be lifting weights way too heavy for them with form that is horrible, and they wonder why their back and knees are always hurting. So get to know yourself and really find out where you are so that you have a starting point. Because you can't get to a destination. You can't navigate to a destination if you have no idea where you are.
And then as far as Allen Fitness, what's your goal with it? Where do you want to take it?
Oh man, the sky's the limit. I think it starts with my mission statement. My mission statement is that I help relentless professionals be at their best in every area of life with through through fitness, nutrition, and mindset strategies that they can take into habits and practices that will last them their entire life. So my ultimate goal is I'd love to be like Tony Robbins. I want to help people all over the world and help people change their lives. And I'm starting with the fitness and nutrition because I believe that fitness and nutrition are the basics. That's where you have to start, because if your body and your mind are just falling apart, you're not going to be able to excel and succeed on a really elite level. So you have to start with the basics. And once you have discipline of fitness and nutrition, and you get that rhythm, and you know this from experience that once you have that, it's such a great feeling, and you want more. So that basic thing that literally anybody can do can propel anybody to success. It may seem unrelated, but ask anybody, ask these billionaires and whatnot that are really successful and really innovative, if they are neglecting their bodies and neglecting themselves. It's something you have to do. That's where we start, and then from there, I just want to help inspire people. I'd love, like I say before, I'd love to be a motivational speaker like you are, and like Tony Robbins is, and all these other people. I think that would be just the most rewarding thing ever. I really do.
That's awesome. And speaking about that, I feel like you should write a book.
Maybe it would be. I got some stories to tell. That's for sure.
Yeah, not only that, but you can share your knowledge on fitness and nutrition. And the title of your page is actually perfect for it.
Fitness roadmap for relentless professionals.
Yep, I can see that already. And then a picture of you, and then by Chris Allen.
Maybe someday.
Yeah,
Maybe some people would like to hear the story. I think that any story can be good for people that can relate to it, and I think that I've had some unique experiences that maybe aren't that unique that a lot of people might be able to relate to, and that's kind of how I try to try to teach and convey my messages. That's why I decided to go ahead and be open to about the fact that I had a problem with bad drug addiction and things like that, because a lot of the time people are way too apprehensive about opening up about themselves and the mistakes they've made and maybe bad decisions they've made or places they've been or who they've been. And I just want people to know that it's okay. Other people have been there too. You're not alone. There are very few people in this world who have made unique mistakes, and I think a lot of people forget that and isolate themselves. And like we've been saying this whole time, you shouldn't do everything in life alone. You got to have help, and you got to have people around you.
exactly. And I mean, as far as like, I know you're doing the virtual training. I mean, if somebody were to, I guess, a lot of people are going to be listening to this episode. So if they were to listen to this episode and they're interested in I guess, training with you, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping this episode allows you to take advantage and maybe gain some new clients. That's what I'm hoping for. That's why I bring people to the show, because I want them to be successful too. I want to share, I want to be a part of that success. So if you end up getting a couple clients after this episode, it's a win for me, you know?
Great. Appreciate that. And I would also love to share this with people that I know, just so that people can understand what you do as well. Because I think what you're doing is just wonderful, and the way you teach, I really like from what you described to me with how you work with your students. I think that's really cool. So yeah, I'd love to get your message out there as well.
Yeah, and definitely, like, if you feel like, like I always tell people, like, if you have like a product, or like your business, I always like to have, if you like to say something about it and get it out there, I allow that. I'm like, most people are like, oh no, don't do that, because it's like it's completely unethical. I'm like, no, if you got a business like yours, I want you to get it out there through my podcast. Like a couple weeks ago, I had an author, Win Charles, and I said, go ahead and get your podcast out there, share your books where they can find them. And that's what I like to do with everybody. Like if you have a book or a certain product, or like your fit your your business, I always like to say, hey, where can they find you so that they can learn more about you, or if they're interested in doing something with you, then they can, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. If anybody wants to contact me, you can find me at my website is Chris. That's CHRIS dash Allen ALL. Wait, I'm sorry. I, I'm, I'm thinking of my email. It's been a long day. I'm a little
I
tired.
get you.
It's Allen ALLEN dash fitness.com. The dash it has to be in there because domain names were expensive at the time. Or if people also prefer, much easier way to get in touch with me is through Facebook. You can find me on my personal page. It's Chris Allen, CHRISALLEN, and my business page on Facebook is Allen Fitness. Find me in any of those places, and feel free to reach out if you need some help with anything, or if you want to join my group, the Fitness Roadmap for Relentless Professionals. There's lots of great stuff in there, great community of people, lots of cool free content that a lot of people can use to get started right away.
Yeah, and definitely send me those links so I can put them on the episode so people can find you easier when they watch it.
Okay, yeah, great.
And if you
Will do.
can, also send me I guess a good headshot of you or something so I can post it when I'm putting it on like Instagram so people can know, hey, I had this episode with this individual, and if you can go check it out on my YouTube channel or wherever I post it, they're welcome to. So, you know.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do that. So I will. Let me just take some notes here real quick so I don't forget, because forgetting is something I love to do.
Yeah, I think we all do. We all forget.
Yep. Dots and links for that. Cool.
So, with that being said, Christopher, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate you being on the show. Guys, you can find this episode on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, or any other major podcasting outlets out there. And to end it all, always remember, if I can do it, so can you.
Thanks, Dan. It's been an honor to be on your